everybody, this is Bernie from Stampin' and welcome to another Friday card making session with me. I hope you've all had a great week. I thought this Friday I would do something a little bit different rather than showing you how to make a card, and the reason for my thinking is that this past week I was teaching a card class, and one of the ladies that was there just expressed it was just a comment that was passed, and that was how she found and finds figuring out and working out how to cut your cardstock to be quite a challenge. And that got me thinking to how did I learn to cut my cardstock most economically and to actually give you the right orientation that you want for a card, because there are so many different ways. We can have portrait cards, we can have landscape cards, we can have tent cards. So I thought I'd put together this quick video. Instead of showing you how to make a card, I thought it would be a really good idea to just explain how I go about cutting my cardstock to create a card base and what measurements I use to create my mats. So let's get started, and I thought the best way to do this would be to work on a piece of basic black cardstock so that it can show up the measurements of the mat. So in order to cut a piece of cardstock, you need a paper trimmer, and I really love StampinUp's paper trimmer because it has an extension of the arm that goes all the way to 17 inches. And if you are a scrapbooker, you will know that most of the measurements we work with are 12 by 12s, because that's the size of scrapbook cardstock, that's the size of designer series paper. But now and then it's really awesome to be working with bigger projects if you do like home decor 3D projects. So I love the fact that this arm extends and it tucks in. It also has a hook little gap there so that you can hang that up. I never hang mine up because it's always been used so much. It also has a measuring gauge with the measurements on the side so that you can see where you are working. It has a blade and it has a scoring tool, but I have taken mine off because I use something else to do my scoring and it just got in my way. So I want to show you how I go about cutting my cardstock. So it really depends on what the orientation is. So if I am wanting a card orientation that works like a landscape card, then I usually, let me open it up, I will usually cut my cardstock, because if we look at it there, it is 8 1/4 inches. I will then take it to 4 1/8, and I will cut it again at 4 1/8, and you have this tiny little bit left. So that is really very economical, and I prefer to keep my lengths at 11 inches. I just find it fits in the card better. So here you've got a 4 1/4 by a 11 inch cardstock. And what I then do, I just wanted to go and get my scoring tool. You could of course use your paper trimmer for this, but I like to use my scoring tool for this, and I then score it at 5 1/2. And I'll score this one at 5 1/2. Oh, I didn't cut that one at 11, so that's no good. Let me just quickly cut it off on that side. 11. That should hopefully be the right. Now I'm throwing everything away. Alright, get that back in the camera. Let's have a look. So that should be, Yes, so 5.5. So let me show you. So out of that measurement, and I'm looking for my bone folder, which has hidden itself. Out of that measurement, I am getting 2 standard cards, and I can change this orientation. So I can have this card landscape, or with that kind of measurement, I can create a tent card. Alright, so that's one piece of cardstock cut at 4 1/8 by 5.5, or 11 scored at 5.5 will get you that orientation. Now, if I was to want a card whose orientation is more traditional, what I then would do is cut, so I would leave this width, which is 8 1/4, okay, and I would turn it to landscape and cut it at that 5.5 that I want it to be. So you leave the shorter side and you turn it to the longer side and you cut it at 5.5, and then bringing in my scoring tool once again, I now have an 8 1/4 length. Keep putting things down this morning, I can feel it. There it is. And now I'm going to score at 4 1/8. And that way I will also get 2 cards out of the same cardstock. But now I've got 2 designs. I can either open it traditionally, or I can turn it and open it that way. Alright, so you've got options. So you can either open it traditionally, or you can open it and have a landscape. So those are the base. That's your cardstock base, your card base. Now what about matting? So because most of these are standard, if I was to put them on top of each other, you can see they are all the same size, and that is why I like to use those measurements, because that means I'm not fiddling in my head with, oh, now what size do I have to mat this? I just cut them standard and I just change the orientation depending which way I want it. Then if I want to mat it, and this can be for both cardstock and designer series paper, and I only want a 1/8 inch mat, I will cut this piece of paper to 4 inches by 5 1/4. So you're getting that kind of look. So that is a 1/8 of an inch mat. Or if I want a slightly broader border of the cardstock peeping out, I will cut this down to 3 7/8 by 5 1/4 inch, and then you get that kind of look. So that is a 1/4 inch mat. So as you can see, and of course you can even take it down to 1/16 where you get a very, very narrow border. I generally don't work in 1/16. That's not my personal style. But if you were to take it to 1/16, you would have to just take that down by another 1/8. So that would be 3 7/8 by 4, and if that's 2/4, it would be 4 2/8, 1/8, 5 1/8. So you can absolutely take it down, but I like to most times work in 1/8 mats or 1/4 inch mats. So I hope this has been helpful for you, and I will put the measurements on below in the description below on my after the video has been made. Just click on the drop down box and you will find all the information there of how to cut if you're wanting it to be the sort of more landscape with a tent card, or if you are going for the more It's this one. If you're going for the more traditional card that opens, or you want it to open in a landscape that way. So that is just a quick Friday class on cutting your cardstock so that you maximize it and you get the most out of that one piece of cardstock and keep your waste to minimum. Let me know what you think. Let me know if that's been helpful. I would love to hear your feedback. And as always, let me just pop this close into the camera. All my other projects are found at my website, StampinUp.net. You need to click on the My Project tab. I also have a Facebook page called Stampin. I'm also on Instagram, #Stampin. Pinterest, you'll find me under my name, and you're watching me on YouTube. So if you haven't already subscribed, please do that, like it. It would mean a lot to me, and I love the interaction when people watch things and give me feedback. So that's me for this Friday. Until we meet again, remember, stamp, eat, sleep, repeat. Bye!